Let's look at the Pacific Trails Resort case study, which is introduced at the end of Chapter 2, page 49 in the book. We'll follow this case study through subsequent chapters and build the source code along the way. Here in Chapter 2, we see the site map and wireframe page layout. Let's now begin to create our first page by starting with the template.html file, which we first saw in Chapter 1. We're asked to save this file in a folder called Pacific, and let's begin to do that by saving as in Web Apps. Again, create a new folder called Pacific. And we're going to call this first file index. Remember that index is typically the default or first file in every web page. So we're going to call this index.html. Let's also add to the title Pacific Trails Resort. This is what will appear in the title bar of the web browser. And let's indent. And we're going to indent the meta tag. We do this indentation to help us stay organized so we can spot errors more quickly and to help us keep a general outline. Anytime we have a set of nested tags, for example, here's the head area, we want to indent the items that are inside the head. Nesting is also seen with the entire web page. So we start with the HTML and we end with the HTML. Here's the body, and we're going to be adding code to the body in a moment, and we'll indent the code within the body as well. So anytime we have a nested pair, we want to indent for ourselves, not necessarily because the browser cares about that. Now let's begin to add to the body, and we're going to do the site logo. We're instructed to simply put an H1 in for the site logo, and we're also going to call that Pacific Trails Resort, and end that with an H1 / H1. And we're also asked to enter a navigational area, and we're going to do that with a div tag, and we're asked to make the content of that div tag be strong, meaning we're going to bold or emphasize the text. And so let's put in some of that information. Home, yurts, activities, reservations, and let's end that strong, and let's end that div. Now we're starting to scroll over to the right side of the page, and for our own sake as programmers here, let's configure so that we word wrap, and now we can see everything on the page. And let's also save our file and do an incremental build here by viewing in the browser. Okay, Pacific Trails Resort, and we have the start of our navigational area, but we're also asked to put extra spacing between these words in the navigation area. So let's go back to our page. Now our first inclination here might be to just add extra spacing. But if we save this and look at it in the browser, we're going to see that those extra spaces were ignored. Browsers ignore extra spaces by design because they're trying to account for changes in window size. The browsers have to potentially move the text around. So extra spacing is ignored unless we put in special characters to force the extra spacing. We put in forced spacing with the NBSP character. NBSP, and then finally for activities, NBSP. And let's save that and see if that made a difference. and view it in the browser. We see that we do have the extra space here, but it looks like we made some mistakes. The first one worked, but we misspelled the second one. And then the third one, it looks like we inserted a colon instead of a semicolon. These are kind of common mistakes, and you might make them as well. You just have to realize what they are and go back and correct them. So let's go back to the code. NBSP semicolon, and out here NBSP semicolon. Let's fix it, save it, view it in the browser. Great. So there's the start of our page, and let's end this video at this point and return to finish the rest of the page.